Hi, everybody. Dave Rauch here, CEO of ProTec Building Services, and welcome to the Maintenance Manager. We're very honored today to have Jeevan D'Mello. And Jeevan has been with CAI now for a long time.
A long time. My first interaction was in 2007.
2007. And Jeevan has led the international growth of CAI into at least Dubai, but 22 countries.
Yeah, many countries in Europe, in South America, and soon in the Far East and India.
In Far East.
Yeah, we've just started interacting with people in Singapore, and now, in fact, I'm going to be traveling to Vietnam and Cambodia.
Wow.
And last year we were in India. So there's a lot of things happening.
India is happening.
India is happening in a quick time. India is 1.4 billion people.
So, well, before we dig into that,
sure.
There's so much there. If you could tell us a little bit about Jeevan,
okay,
and your initial
Jeevan, as in
Jeevan.
Yes. Jeevan, like Stephen.
Gotcha, Jeevan.
Yes, Jeevan.
So, Jeevan, if you could tell us a little bit about how you first came into CAI, how you got introduced to the organization, and your early journey with the association.
Absolutely. Actually, I fell into this purely by accident. All right. I'm actually an architect by profession.
Right.
So when in the early days of the building boom in Dubai and the United Arab Emirates. Now, Dubai is a city. It's a small city within a country, which is the United Arab Emirates.
UAE.
The UAE.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And the UAE is a small country in itself, not more than 9 million people totally. It was kind of unheard of for many years. And before 1971, it was ruled by the British. It was a British protectorate. And in 69, they found oil. And after they found oil, and obviously with oil came a lot of money and talent, and they decided to form a federation of states called the United Arab Emirates. Emirates means state. That's right. Emirate is the Arabic word for state. And so Dubai is one of those states, or a small little city. When I went to Dubai to work, I went to work as an architect. And when I joined the organization, my initial idea was to be an architect, but I ended up managing some of the properties, handing over the properties, because there was a new law that came out in 2002. Before 2002, a foreigner couldn't own property in Dubai. You had to be a citizen. Only citizens were allowed to own property.
Interesting.
But in 2002, the law changed, and they allowed foreigners like me to buy property. And so that's how the property boom started in Dubai, right? And
boom, big time.
And it boomed big time. And of course, in 2002, I actually handed over the first, what we call the freehold property. A freehold property is what a foreigner can buy. Right?
Gotcha.
So there's a freehold and there's a leasehold. The leasehold is a property you can only rent, but freehold is a property that you can buy.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so I handed over the property, and then suddenly we realized we're handing over all these properties, but somebody needs to manage them.
Right.
And of course, because the property could be bought by a foreigner, people from the United States, from Canada, from the UK, from Australia, from India, all started buying property. But they started realizing, okay, we're buying this property, but we need to manage these properties. And so even though I was an architect, I was actually in charge of the building part of it. I was asked to look after these communities, right? When I went to my boss and asked him, who's going to manage these properties? He said, you're going to manage these properties, right? And I did what any smart guy would do. I searched on Google. And when I went on Google, I looked out for community management, and CAI popped up. And that's exactly what happened. As simple as that. I made a call to the United States and I said, okay, I need to attend this program. I need to learn about this business. And they said, well, you got to do the M100. And so in 2007, I came to Phoenix, Arizona, and I attended the M100 program. And of course, it was a very funny experience because everybody's saying, oh, I'm from so-and-so Florida. I'm from New York. And I'm saying, I'm from Dubai. And everybody's looking at me. Dubai?
That is so amazing.
Nobody knew what Dubai was. I was very attracted to everything CAI had to offer. I learned so much from my experience, from the training program, from people, members of CAI. They were so helpful. They were teaching me things that I obviously had no idea about. I took all this information back to Dubai. I started talking to my company and my staff, and I said, listen, we all need to be certified in this. And then I attended my first conference in 2008, actually here in Orlando, Florida.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And that's my first interaction with people in the industry. And then in 2008, the end of 2008, I invited the faculty of CI to come to Dubai to teach our first M100. And so with Mike Packard from Associate, with Rob Felix, and with Tom Skiba.
I know all three of those guys.
Exactly. And that's how my relationship with CI, went forward. And my company obviously was very happy with everything that we're doing. We use the world's best practices. We learned a lot, obviously, from all those experiences. And that's how I got started in the industry, and I never looked back.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And I do know, too, that the company you were with, EMAR,
Right.
EMAAR,
Yes.
is a very famous real estate developer.
Right.
I think back then it was the third largest developer in the world.
The largest. Yes. Well, it started off small. That's the time I joined, and the company grew, not because of me, but the company grew because of the products and the services that the company was providing. And our chairman at the time, who's still the chairman as it happens, was a visionary. And he says, okay, I want the best. And when he asked people like me, he said, you have to learn from the best. And so all the stuff that we learned, we actually implemented the company, and the company started educating everybody. I started educating my entire team and using all the best practices that we've learned.
That is fantastic. And I do believe, get me if I'm wrong, that EMAR develops worldwide, and not just in Dubai.
Not just in Dubai, in other countries, and primarily in Dubai, but worldwide.
Right.
And we've got some most iconic projects. One of the projects which you are aware about is Burj Khalifa, the tallest tower in the world.
Tallest tower in the world.
Yes, it is still the tallest tower in the world. And I had the honor and privilege to manage it from inception when it started.
Oh, you did?
Yes. I was the first manager there of managing the Owners Association. The condo association is called an Owners Association in Dubai. It's the same, the concept exactly the same.
And when we say the tallest building in the world, we're talking very tall.
Extremely tall, yes. If you take the Empire State Building and you put another Empire State Building on top of it, it's still taller than that.
And I've Googled it and seen pictures from the very top of the spire looking down.
Right.
And it is amazing.
It is scary more than it is.
It is.
So it's 828 meters high. And of course, we have 164 floors. And that doesn't include the floors below, which is the basement floor. So kind of 200 stories totally, including the basement. And guess how many elevators we have? 57.
I was going to say 57.
We have 57 elevators in that building. So I don't even call it a building. I call it a vertical city.
So you have, EMAR had literally a workforce of people maintaining that building.
Absolutely. Yeah. In every possible thing you can think of, because it's obviously a very iconic building. It still is a very iconic building, and it's kind of a living organism. And at any given time in the building, there were up to 10,000 people in that building.
Right.
I'm talking about residents, visitors, and operators and mechanics and engineering teams and so on and so forth.
And I read about the chillers and how all the water comes off from the evaporators.
Absolutely.
So it's actually a mechanical wonder.
It is.
It's really an amazing building.
Even during construction time, pumping the concrete up to that level required an engineering marvel. There was a lot of force in that building. But beyond, I know everybody talks about Burj Khalifa, but beyond that, MR built some of the most beautiful cities, townships there in Dubai and also around the world.
And ProTec met your company back in 2009.
That's right.
And we worked on a high-rise community.
Correct. The marina.
Yep. Yeah. Six high-rises with you. And that was right before the subprime mortgage crisis.
Absolutely.
2009.
Absolutely. And the projects that you worked on, the Marina Promenade and some of the other projects there, that's what we call a marina. It's a man-made marina. Actually, it's the largest man-made marina in the world.
Really?
Yeah. So in Dubai, everything is a superlative, right? It's the biggest, it's the tallest, it's the widest, the deepest. You guys did an amazing job. I mean, the maintenance manuals that you all prepared I believe were the first that were ever prepared in the United Arab Emirates to such degree and such details. And I know for a fact they're still being used still today, even though they were done in 2009.
Yeah.
And I think such documentation is one of the reasons why Dubai succeeded.
Oh,
Because
great.
what we have in Dubai is things that people around the world may have thought about, but in Dubai, in the UAE, people have actually done it. Right, and they have to prove that they've done it, and they have the results to show that the job was done well.
And I've even heard they have in the desert an indoor ski area.
Yes,
and I've seen pictures of that too. So Dubai clearly is a firsts of everything. And I've also read that you were firsts in many things too with respect to the industry.
That's right.
You were the first manager.
That's right. I'm
in Dubai.
Yes, I'm the first certified manager in the UAE, the country. In fact, in the region,
right?
The whole Middle Eastern region. I was the first to receive the CMCA, which is the Certified Manager of Community Association, the credential, and many other credentials after that.
Yep, I think there's 6 or 7.
Yes. And obviously, I had the honor and privilege to be elected as the first international president of CAI.
Yes,
50 years.
Last year.
Yes, last year I was the
president of the organization.
Right.
Last year.
And so that was a big first as well, because there've never been a non-American president. The presidents has always been living in the United States, and I'm the first one not to be living and not being an American, being an international person.
Yep.
So, and I think that gave a lot of hope to a lot of people internationally. That's, hey, CAI is not a national organization. It is truly an international organization.
Right. And I haven't told you, but your speech at the national conference last year was absolutely amazing.
Oh, thank you.
It was an amazing speech.
Thank you very much.
I think everybody was almost in tears.
Yes.
It was very moving.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yes. Several people came to me and it was spoke to my heart, to be very honest.
It was great.
Yeah.
But you have worked with CAI, Tom Skiba, I think mostly.
Yes.
And you've grown CAI's presence in 22 other countries, in addition to Dubai.
Right.
Can you talk a little bit about how that evolved and where we are now?
Yeah.
With respect to CAI's growth, you mentioned going into the Asia.
Yeah. I think what CAI is here, and this was part of the discussions I've been having for a long time with the Board of Trustees and with other members. We've always, or rather people here have always looked at CAI as a national organization. It is meant to uplift or to lobby for the profession here in the United States.
Sure.
I've always seen it as an opportunity to take this even further, right? In countries like the United Arab Emirates, and we are not a democracy, we're a monarchy, right? It's very different from how it is here. Now, community associations are a form of democracy. They are giving people the voice, the homeowners.
Oh, that's right.
The voice.
Within a monarchy.
Within a monarchy.
That's interesting.
And so I know that one of the things that the United States they want to spread democracy, right? But how do you spread democracy in a monarchy, right? This is probably one of the best ways you can actually do that. So you are spreading democracy, which you're giving the right for homeowners to decide their own fate in their own communities, but you're doing it with complying with all the laws and with all the regulations. So I saw that as a great advantage. And when I went back to Dubai and I started speaking to the regulators, now we have regulators in Dubai, and the regulators are government officials, but the big difference is they talk to us just like how we are talking right now.
I see.
Right? And they're learning from us. So every time I go back to them, they say, okay, what did you learn new? Can you tell us? Can you teach us? So I actually became a trainer for them and, training their staff, training other people. And my role now is I'm an international faculty of CAI as well. And the regulators have taken what we have given them, including a lot of documentation that I know you are involved in. And I've given this documentation and they've made it a part of their legislation.
What?
So you can't be called a manager now in Dubai unless you've done the M100 minimum requirement. They sign an MOU with CAI. Right?
That's great.
And we've done the same thing in the Kingdom of Bahrain. I don't know if you ever heard Bahrain. Is
Sure have,
a small,
yeah.
tiny little country. It's a kingdom. But now they have made M100 the basic minimum for somebody to be called a community manager.
That's
right.
great.
And so we are doing training courses in Bahrain. And now we went, Tom Skiba and myself went to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Of course, Saudi Arabia is more well known. And again, it's not a democracy, but they are now in the start of their building boom. And they're having all these buildings built, but they haven't really thought about how it's going to be managed. So here again, CAI is coming to them and saying, hey, we've got the best practices. We've been doing this for so many years.
51 years.
51 years.
Here in
Learn it from us. And here's some documentation, like you have the public policy, the reserve fund study, all that kind of, here's a document, and they love it. And they see it and they said, wow, and you're giving this to us free? You say, yeah. Read through it.
And that is amazing. And one of the things I talked to Tom Skiba about was you have to remember that in the Middle East, Saudi Arabia in particular, Dubai, there are new residential communities popping up like mushrooms after
every day. There's a new project being literally launched every day. It's unbelievable. It's truly unbelievable. Right.
And so they're
the stuff that we are producing here, and people have not realized the immense value you are creating, not only in the United States, but all around the world. And that's where my focus is. You got everything done in the USA. We don't want buildings to collapse. We don't want things to go into disrepair. Right. And here are manuals ready for you to, and I tell you, people love it. Last year we were in India. And we had several discussions with several people in India. Of course, India is a large country. We're 1.4 billion people.
Very large.
Yes. We have the laws in place. We have laws for condominiums and planned communities in place for decades. But there's no proper management practices at all.
Really?
It's unbelievable. So what has happened is that the buildings, and I come from India, so I know, I grew up there, everything's in disrepair. Purely, the buildings were beautiful when they were built, but now they're totally in disrepair because no management practices. So there's compliance with the law, but people have not looked at maintenance. We've got to maintain these buildings, right? You can't just have...
And that's this one.
Exactly. There you are.
Yep. That's the best practices.
For me, it is, preventive maintenance and corrective maintenance and replacement, reserve studies. It's not uncommon in a condominium in India. You find there are zero reserves. Zero.
Wow. Was CAI now just getting started in India?
That is right. Yeah. So we just had
in Saudi Arabia.
In Saudi Arabia as well. Dubai has been established for some time. Bahrain has been established for some time.
Right.
So now Saudi Arabia, India is of course a very big player. And it's the largest English-speaking country,
right.
So it makes life much easier for us because you don't have to translate anything into any language,
right.
Because English is the standard language that everybody speaks,
right?
At least the professionals. And then we went to Singapore as well.
Singapore,
yeah, Singapore. And Singapore has a proper condominium law, and they call it the strata law. But again, they have all the laws in place. They have beautiful buildings, but they need people with the knowledge and with the experience to come and manage their buildings. So Singapore, and then Malaysia, we went to Malaysia as well. So Singapore and Malaysia are pretty close by, so we can look at that. And this year, as I mentioned, I'm going to Vietnam, and I'm going to Cambodia.
Wow.
So looking at those places as well. Last year, we also went to the state of Qatar. So Qatar is the next place that they are very keen. We had a kind of a conference there.
Really?
We spoke about all the practices which are going to be helpful to them. They're very keen. We met some officials. So there's a lot of stuff happening. And that's in that part of the world. But besides that, we've also now gone into South America and Central America. So we're just returning, actually, just last week. We had the first ever community management conference in Puerto Rico.
Wow.
Yeah, I was surprised because, it being a U.S. territory, I would expect that we would have a lot of stuff. But no, it's never happened. So we've had the first one there. And last year, and the year before that, we had a conference in Bogota, Colombia. And we had the first M100 in Spanish.
Wow. Oh, now Pepe.
Yes, exactly. And so we are teaching the M100 in Spanish. We are translating a lot of document into Spanish. This year, we will be in Buenos Aires, Argentina. We're going to be in Montevideo, Uruguay, and also in Peru.
Wow.
So there's a lot of stuff happening. And then, of course, we have Europe, we have Spain, and of course, you know Pepe very well. So we have Spain, and we have our friends in Italy and Germany, and we're looking at it. So it is really a global reach out.
Wow, it's really expanding quickly.
Very quickly.
South America, Malaysia,
Far East,
India. And I know the relations between the U.S. and India are picking up greatly because a lot of companies like Apple are pulling out of China and going into India. So I'd imagine there's a lot more people really focused on India.
And India, yesterday, I think India became the 4th largest economy in the world, right?
Really?
Yeah, it overtook Japan and became the largest. So India is an amazing place. And of course, I'm slightly biased because it's my country.
Sure.
But India is growing leaps and bounds. And of course, the relationship between the US and India have always been very, very good and very strong. We have a lot of people of Indian origin in this part of the world, right? And many of them are leading some of the big tech companies. I mean, if you look at Microsoft and Google, they're all people of Indian origin who are the CEOs, right? So India is really a big place to watch. And therefore, I believe for CAI, it's a very important geography.
Absolutely.
And it becomes a little easier for us purely because English is so widely spoken and understood. I mean, it is the language of business and profession, right?
Yep.
So,
and as you know, yesterday was the first, what do we call the Tech Connect on AI?
That's right.
And that was fascinating.
That was very fascinating, and listening to everyone around the
kind of coalesce in some ways.
Absolutely.
How does it work though? Are you going out to these countries with like a delegation of CAI, or do you do it just with Tom Skiba or with a few CAI staff? I mean, it seems to me that that's a lot of work.
It is a lot of
work. So going to
it's always starts out with a personal connection, right? Always starts out. Like when we reached out to Singapore, I knew someone there in the industry. I reached out to him. I talked to him. Hey, what do you have? What do you do and have? And then we start talking. And then they realize, okay, what is it? Can you offer us? And then I connect with CI, with Tom, or whoever is there. And then I say, okay, you know, we should make a trip. And then because we went to Singapore, then I connected with somebody in Malaysia, and I said, you know, we're coming to Singapore. It's just like an hour flight to Malaysia at Kuala Lumpur. So can we come and meet you? And we went there, and we actually met an association there, but they're association of facilities managers. They don't really have an association of community association managers.
Gotcha.
And so we connect with that. So that's how it's happened. And the same thing with the South America. Actually, Pepe Gutierrez and I wrote a book in Spanish. I don't speak Spanish, but I can understand and read. Yep. And we wrote a book on the best community association managers in the Spanish-speaking world. So it includes Spain, include all the other countries. So we had like 22 countries that was actually in the book. And we connected, in every country, we connected with one key community management profession. That's how we built our network.
That's amazing.
So
that's how it happens.
That's how it happens.
It's such a great story. And I'm assuming that when you first meet these folks in these countries, you just tell them about your personal examples with Dubai and how to help Dubai.
Yeah, exactly. And I use that as a great way because I know exactly what happened, right? What Dubai did not have, what it was missing.
Yeah.
So Dubai had the buildings, they had everything there. It's just what happens after you build those buildings is the big question mark, right? Yep. And what I like about what Dubai did was they said they were and they're still willing to learn every single time. Every time I go back from the States, I actually give a book or whatever to the regulators that, hey, I read this book. This is about managing community. And they'll, oh, thank you so much. You know, they're reading, they're understanding, whatever. After what happened at Champlain Towers, they took that very seriously, very, very seriously. Absolutely. And they said, we're not, and I was speaking to them, I said, we're not going to let this happen to us, you know? Yeah. And why did this happen?
Yeah.
Right? Why did Champlain happen? And I think it's a lot to do with the lack of awareness of the homeowners themselves, the board, right? They were not aware of their, what we call the fiduciary responsibility, right? Of doing something in the best interest of the community association. And a lot of board members think the best interest is to save money or to keep the due assessments low. But that's not what's the best interest of the association. Right. What's in the best interest of the association is having these communities or this building or this planned community in the best shape it can be to make sure it's safe, it's secure, and the property values only increase and not decrease, right?
Exactly.
And how to do that? good maintenance. It's
Yep.
as simple as that. You have to have good maintenance.
And it's so amazing that not only are you in this situation where you're spreading CAI
Yeah.
internationally,
Yeah.
but as an architect,
Yes.
you and a manager,
Yeah.
management professional,
Correct.
because you're not really manager, but
Yeah.
manager, you understand the importance of maintenance,
Absolutely.
which is something that, I've been trying to explain
Yeah.
to the management industry,
Yeah.
but it's hard to explain
It's hard to.
how valuable maintenance is. What most boards don't understand, especially, is that if you spend $1 on preventive maintenance, you save $3 down the road.
Exactly.
But you can't see those savings.
Correct. Correct.
That's the hard.
And I think that's very essential. And I think this is what Dubai gets it right. And so me being an architect, of course, I have an advantage because I understand technical stuff. I understand how a building functions, how a building is built. And I know that all these equipment and assets and structural things have to be maintained.
Yeah.
Right. It's just like our body, right?
Yeah.
I went to the doctor and said, hey, you got to exercise. You got to you got to maintain yourself. Because if you don't maintain yourself, you're going to deteriorate. It's the same thing. And having those maintenance best practices, preventive maintenance, corrective maintenance, and emergency and deferred and sorry, not deferred, but replacement is very essential. So we do not allow people to defer maintenance. And in fact, we have regulations. We have a law that tells people that you must maintain your community, and you must have a professional. And this, by the way, came after Champlain and after release the public policy on reserve funds and
This
these
documents, what the task force came up with.
This public safety policy report had a big role to play in some of the changes in the law, right? Because now in Dubai, you need to have your building inspected every 3 years by a professional inspector. You need to have a reserve fund study done every 3 years by a professional reserve specialist.
Exactly as
exactly
report recommended.
And you cannot do anything without it. So if you do not have these in place, one, the community manager can lose his license.
Oh, wow.
Right? Yeah. And so there are strict guardrails. So it's a bit of over-regulation, but I think because of that regulation, every building in Dubai it looks amazing.
But I actually think you're onto something big there.
Yeah.
Because one of the problems that I think many of us identified through Champlain Tower South collapse was there was no mandate, no regulation, no law that made that board of directors spend that initial $3 million for those repairs, or actually there was nothing that made them maintain the building.
Yeah.
And indeed, on top of that, there's no mandate that they get educated on how to maintain it.
Correct.
And so I think it's a dual problem that it sounds to me like in Dubai they've addressed.
They have addressed
because you some boards like the board at Champlain Tower South, they initially had a $3 million project on their hands because they hadn't maintained the building for 40 years. And they took it to the residents and they said, no, we're not going to do it. And I think the board was recalled.
Correct.
And then it became from 3 million to 9 million, 9 million to 13, and then 13 to 15.
Absolutely. It's only going to go up. I mean, every time you don't maintain your building, you're going to pay a higher price for it later on.
Right.
And with these new regulations, it made the life of the community management professionals easier because now they didn't have to just convince them.
Exactly.
You're going to do it.
Exactly.
If you don't do it, you're going to fall foul of the law, and you're not going to be compliant. But here's the good news: because of these laws, because of the maintenance, the property prices have only gone up.
Yep.
Because everybody wants to buy a property in Dubai.
Yeah.
Because they know that I'm going to buy this property, I'm going to invest my money, I'm going to live a great life because it's beautiful, it's clean, it's well maintained. But 10 years later, the property is going to fetch me a great return.
Right.
So it's a win-win situation for everyone.
And Dubai has such an advantage because it started right from the beginning.
Exactly.
Here in the U.S., especially here in Florida, we've got, I think Florida has about 50-some thousand associations.
Yeah.
And there's at least 4,000 or 5,000 high rises.
Yeah.
And in Southern Florida, there's a crisis right now because the state of Florida passed the law that they need to inspect these buildings.
Yeah.
And then so people are getting hit with these huge special assessments. So
Yes.
and what it is because they haven't maintained correctly
Yes.
30, 40, 50
Yeah.
years,
Yeah.
they're getting these monstrous special assessments. And it's creating a condo crisis where people they don't have the money for the special assessment.
Correct.
And it's sad.
It's sad.
Really sad to see.
But that's what's happening in India as well. The same
In
thing.
India?
The same
because
thing.
they haven't been maintained.
Because they haven't been maintained, right?
Yeah.
So there are bylaws, there are what we call bylaws there, governing document that state that you must maintain your building, but exactly how to maintain it, what is the maintenance, nobody says anything. So maintain can just be cleaning the windows as maintenance, right? But what we are trying to do through SIA and through all this is actually give these best practices to all these communities.
And that's this one.
Document and tell people why these best practices of maintenance are so important. And we're going to give them free.
Yeah.
We're not charging them for it. And then we are going to say is that we can create awareness sessions, not only for the management professionals, but also for what they call their management committees, which is the same thing as a board, right? And I think the board...
They call them management committees. Not a board of directors.
They don't call it. And it depends on on the states. Some state call it a board. Some state call it a management committee. And, it depends. But it's essentially the same thing, right? They have a fiduciary. They're elected by the owners. And they have a fiduciary duty to maintain that building and protect all the owners.
Right.
But they are not aware of what it means.
I know.
Right. So when we talk about duty, when we talk about fiduciary duty, I talk about duty of care. And I'm explaining to people in Dubai, the professionals and the owners,
right,
what does duty of care mean? That you're going to listen to your professionals.
Yeah.
You're going to read the documents and you're going to take the advice of that professional seriously.
Sure.
It's like you take the advice of a doctor or a lawyer. Why can't you take the advice of a community management professional?
Right.
So we are trying to create this. I believe, and I've spoken to some of the condo boards or management committee, and they said, wow, we didn't even know this existed. Please, we want to learn more. And that's why I believe CAI has such an important role to play globally.
Yeah. Well, I love your perspective because in every set of governing documents that's ever been written, it always says the purpose of the board is to maintain, protect, and enhance the association.
Absolutely.
They have a fiduciary duty to do that.
Absolutely.
But again, there's no mandate that they do it. And California is another example of where the state has kind of stepped in with rules, regulations, and laws.
Yeah.
They created that deck law. Have you heard of that?
Yes.
AB 326.
Yes, I've heard of it. I don't know much about it, but I have it.
And so it's a stopgap thing because as you know, as an architect, inspecting just the decks is only part of the story.
Part of the story.
And so it's so difficult to explain that you really need to inspect all common area components.
Everything.
At least once a year.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you don't look, you're not going to find problems.
Yeah.
So how would you recommend that we explain to a board of directors the importance of maintenance and the importance of doing their job to maintain, protect, and enhance the community when these board members are really just lay people, nurses, teachers, tradespeople? They don't really understand a fiduciary duty. How would you explain to a board of directors? And I think you mentioned it a little earlier too.
Yeah. And what we do back in Dubai and other countries as well is that, number one, we have a board orientation, and I know that you have it here.
Board orientation.
Mm-hmm. And during the board orientation, we actually tell the board what is their fiduciary duty and what are they supposed to look after, and their duty of care and their duty of loyalty. And that maintenance is a very, very big part of their duty.
Right.
Because good maintenance not only prolongs life of the asset, but it also removes any chances of injury to people living there. Safety. So safety is a big part of that. You don't have trip hazards. You don't have things, bricks falling down on somebody's head,
exactly.
Right? But the only way to do that is to have good maintenance practices.
Exactly.
Now, these best practices are available. This is not rocket science. This is not something that's never been done. So what we do is we actually show people like case studies
Right.
And we use the Champlain Towers, actually, sadly enough.
Yeah,
But
it's sad.
it has produced some positive results, if we can say that, because people have now, for the first time, saying, oh my God, if I don't maintain my building, this is a consequence of
Right.
not maintaining the. This is a consequence of the board not doing the fiduciary duty or not understanding what their fiduciary duty was. Now that serves as a good lesson, not only the board, but also to the management professionals, right? And of course, in our case, it's also to the regulator. Now, we are very fortunate that both the regulators in the United Arab Emirates and in the Kingdom of Bahrain, both have taken this very seriously, and both of them have promoted the use of, of good maintenance practices and also inspections. So I think having some kind of regulation is important. Having documents very easy to people to understand, to read and consume, showing them those before and after photographs or showing them case studies. All these things I believe will help the board make the right decision.
Right. And here in the U.S., with the absence of those regulations requiring a board to maintain, protect, and enhance, some laws, like in California, have popped up. The deck inspection law in California. There's the new structural inspection requirements here in Florida and elsewhere. In the absence of regulation, I think the insurance companies here in the U.S. have been kind of the driver, the pusher of these best practices. Like I know right now, because we're having a very hard market, insurance companies are saying to the associations, look, if you don't maintain your community, we're not going to give you insurance, and you're going to have to go to the surplus lines market to get insurance, which are very expensive. And so I'm just curious, is the insurance structure the same? Is it also active in outside of the U.S.?
It is very active in the Dubai and the UAE. And obviously, every building has to have insurance. There's no question about it.
Of course.
You cannot not have insurance. And they have all the different insurances possible. They have comprehensive insurance, the plant and machinery and liability and all the different insurance possible. And they have, you must maintain your building to a certain standard for that insurance to kick in.
Same thing.
So the loss adjusters, and I don't know if they call them loss adjusters here, but we call the inspectors the
loss control.
Okay, we call it the loss adjusters. They come and check your building records to make sure that you have actually maintained your building as per code, as per standard. And if you missed something, you just don't get paid. And they're very strict about it there. And again, that's another big driver. So we have the regulation, we have the laws, and we have the insurance. And I think the insurance is very key there.
And I'm going to study these international countries that are adopting these things. This is fascinating. One last thing. Could you tell us a little bit about your current company, Zenesis, which I've read a little bit about, but it's fascinating. Could you tell us a little bit about
Zenesis? Zenesis is what we call a business transformation company. And we look at companies right from the start. So startup, a person wanting to come to Dubai to do business, we help the company, the person form a company, we get them a trade license, we get them an office and staff and whatever. But we also look at older companies and larger organizations where we help them transform from where they are today to where they should be tomorrow, right? So it's the whole scope of services that we provide to companies. But we started off as having only real estate companies, and we have some very large developers who are our clients, some of the top names in the industry. But now we've also started attracting a lot of non-real estate people because they've begun to realize that there is a value in the services that we're providing. And we have a framework, what we call BOCER, BOCER, which is brand, operations, customers, employees, and results, financial results. So we look at all these areas of companies, starting with the brand. How do you want to protect the brand, promote the brand? How are they operating, the day-to-day operations? Then customers, obviously the customers are a very important part. How are customers being looked after? How are their needs being addressed? How are their desires being addressed? And then employees. Employees, a very big focus in what we do. We train employees, we help them recruit, we help them upskill these employees. Because if you want your company to succeed, you have to have the right employee, right? Of course. To keep them motivated.
Primary asset.
Absolutely. And finally, we look at the actual results of everything. So it's not just the financial results, but the operations or the results of the entire company, and we see how we can make it better.
Okay.
So it's been good. I left my previous organization only about less than 8 years ago.
8 years.
Yeah. So in 8 years, we've done amazing amount of work.
And if one of our viewers would like to learn more about Zenesis, is it Zenesis?
Corp. Zenesis Corp.
EEN
NESISCORP.com.
Corp.com.
Corp.
Gotcha.
Zenesis Corp. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, we've covered a lot of ground today, and this has been fantastic. But is there any other things that you want to touch on before we call it a day?
No, I think we've covered everything possible. I just want to thank you and ProTec for all the work that you guys have done. I know we've been one of your happy clients internationally, and we're very thrilled to actually look at the document again after some time. And I really look forward to us continuing our relationship.
Fantastic.
And I really want to invite you guys to Dubai.
Absolutely.
Please do come to Dubai. We have a big conference every December, and we have other conferences. And I mean, there are lots of conferences about almost any subject. But in terms of technology and real estate, we have some of the biggest conferences in the world.
Fantastic.
So please do visit us in Dubai and travel with us around the world. And I'm sure you're going to learn a lot from that.
I know I speak for everybody in the industry when they say thank you so much for taking the industry international. It's been a great honor to talk with you.
The honor is mine. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jeevan. Thank you, everybody, and stay safe.